Alright, so I wanted to go ahead and just talk about what I'm doing because I might break this while I do it and might as well document it. So before I had removed the color wheel from right here and I put it right here instead, so that way the beam of light coming from the halogen lamp wouldn't be impeded by the color wheel, and you get a little more lumens out for the 3D printer. In doing that, I got some of the mirrors dirty, and so you see specks of dirt on the projection. And probably not a terribly big deal if you just want to watch movies, but we need really high quality 3D printing, so we're going to have to fix that. Anyways, so this is me trying to fix it. There's 3 screws on the back panel here, which I'm going to remove, which I think should allow me to pop it off. We will see. Two of them are machine screws, and the third one is plastic screw. I think it'll pop. There's another one more screw on the right side. Doesn't look like there's one on the left. Off, still secured somewhere up top. Hard to tell exactly where. There might be another couple of screws in place, so I'm going to try and continue tearing it down. Once I get a little closer to where I'm actually working with the mirrors, I'll be putting gloves on and being a little more careful with cleanliness. Guard up. Oh, that looks like a screw. I see. I think these guys are acting as secondary screws to secure this plate. Yep, I think so. Let's come off. Need to get a socket. I'm going to use a 5mm socket. Try to get these off. Actually, once they just get loosened up, I think they'll just rotate out by hand. Something to grip. There we go. And just like that. So keep these guys separate. Yeah, that is what was keeping it in place. So make sure if you have to take off this back panel, you get all of these studs loosened up and off. This one for the RS-232 connection is the studs are a little closer to the connector. I have to use one of those pliers to get that one. Maybe I can use, there we go. A little bit of friction, enough to get it out. All right, making progress. So that is the back plate. Set that off to the side. Make sure I keep my studs as well. We'll need those later. I'm going to pull this cover off. Alright. That's your sheet metal cover. Set that to the side as well. Okay, so now we've got the top circuit board. Basically, eventually I want to be able to get this out. So I think if I just get the top circuit board out, that might be enough. I think it's just going to slide out. It's connected on the bottom somewhere. There's a connection. There's a header right here that goes straight down into the next board. I don't see anything right here that's keeping it stuck. This is, I see there's a bunch of small connections here that go. Yeah, There's some foam there. No, but that's to the plate underneath this. Oh, yeah. It's like there's another connection below this. Goes right here. So I'm not sure how they expect you to get that apart without just pulling it. It looks like there's another connection right here. They probably don't expect you to get it out, because this was never meant to be disassembled like this. Try just a little bit of leverage. There we go. It's starting to come out. Felt it come loose. There we go. Making progress. Oh yeah. That must be for the DMD. Okay. So there's 3 wires here that are going to need to come out. Probably leave the color wheel wires intact. I don't really want to mess with that ribbon cable too much in case it breaks, and then the color wheel's not going to spin like it's supposed to. And then I'll be up creek. So that's 3 wires, gray, black, and brown. This one will be 5. It's like black, brown, red, orange, and yellow. This one. Three wires, yellow, black, and red. Alright. Oh, there's a 4th wire right here. Almost missed them. Alright. So, see there's a few chips here. Looks like the main DLP controller chip, and then some sort of secondary DLP controller chip there. Alright, set that off to the side. Alright, now for the next layer, looks like I will be having to remove this, and then this header, looks like that goes directly down to the DMD chip, most likely. So, getting closer to where we need to be. It's almost like spelunking in electronics. Those are the only 2 screws? Nope, there's a 3rd. Alright, so we had a screw here, and a screw here. This is what it looks like. This one was in a little bit tighter than the rest. Gotta be careful not to strip it. If higher quality screws were used. And that's going to be a problem. Does it wrap around? No. There we go. That is one complicated piece of sheet metal. All right. It looks like there's a secondary fan here that's just sucking air directly through the heat exchanger here and then pushing it down past into the halogen lamp and then exhaust here. This fan actually pulls air out this way. But we're going to need to remove this and this, and then eventually the heatsink. Getting there. Getting there. Looks like there's some sort of sensor here too. Plugs in. Pull that out maybe. Yeah. Pull it out of the board. There we go. Must be some sort of like obstruction sensor. I don't know. Maybe it's airflow sensor. Hard to tell. It's like maybe just some sort of conductive coating, maybe. Maybe it's able to determine whether or not there's a lot of lint in there. Clean it either way. It's actually probably a temperature sensor. Yep. It's probably a thermistor, actually. It's measuring the air coming off of the heat exchanger for the DMD chip. That's probably how it's telling whether or not the chip's getting too hot. Interesting. So the one wire with the yellow, black, and red was for the brushless motor. It's actually a squirrel cage design motor for the DMD chip heatsink. Alright, I think we're ready to actually pull this sucker out. So I'd like to not have to unscrew the heatsink from the bottom of the DMD chip because I don't have any thermal paste to replace with the stuff I'm going to be disrupting. So I'd rather not do that if I don't have to. Doesn't look like I might have a choice. So let's try, see if we can't pull this assembly off, and then we'll go from there. first things first, go ahead and get this halogen lamp out of here. Okay, make sure he stays nice and safe. And then I'm gonna pull this cover off. Remember, if you watch my color wheel removal guide, we left this in place and we pulled the color wheel out this way. But now we can actually access these screws down here to remove this plate. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm going to have to pull this assembly out before I can remove that last screw. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get this out, since that was the reason for the show. Oh, look at that, just pops right out. Alright, so these are your optics for this DLP projector. It's actually pretty self-contained once you pull it out. But there's a DMD, digital micro mirror device, in here. And I want to try and not disrupt that if I can avoid it. And I'd really like to just get all the mirrors that are in this assembly clean. So that way I know that we're not, so that way when I reassemble this I'll get a nice clean picture. So let me put on gloves, and then I'm going to have to get a few items, make sure I can protect anything I pull apart here. If you haven't taken apart your projector trying to remove the color wheel yet, or you haven't watched my other video, this is what I should have done before. And had I done this, it may not have required that I do this little tear down. Oh, let's see. So, I don't know if you can see in the video, it looks like there's an optic there. And there's definitely an optic there. Both of which probably need to be cleaned. I might be able to get away with only cleaning those. I don't know. Maybe I can use a flashlight actually and see how clear the picture is. The DMD chip's not on, so it's probably not going to work. I'm going to turn the light on. Yeah, you really can't tell. If I can limit this down to what I know is sealed off and what isn't, then I might be able to narrow down what the cause is. This looks like it's adjusted though. There's a screw here that looks like it's glued in place, so this part may not even be removable. So it looks like the light shines through here and then is it's formed into a perfect square image on that optic, and that looks like that's where the dust is residing on that optic. Alright, well, let's see if we can't get her clean. So let's start, we'll remove this plate. I'm going to go ahead and set this guy. Well, I can't really move him because I got the main board here, so we'll try and work around it, see how it goes. But I think I should be able to get away without removing the heatsink or revealing a DMD, which would be great because that is a sealed assembly that I would rather not mess with. It's just asking for trouble. If you're watching this video hoping to learn how to remove your DMD because maybe there's something wrong with it, you may have to go somewhere else. There's definitely some dust on there. Way to remove that would be. It's definitely calibrated. All right. Well, let's see if we can't get that microfiber cloth in action. I may have to tear off some pieces of it, just shove it down and clean that mirror that's kind of buried in there. I left this in a case specifically to make sure that it wouldn't be exposed to dust before I was able to use it. I think I'm going to need some scissors though. So I'm going to try and cut off enough here that I can wrap it around cotton swab and shove it in there. That wasn't someone at my door, that was my cell phone going off. So I have a strip here. We're going to see if we can't run that through the mirror and clean it up a little bit. See if we can make that work. Cleaner. It's supposed to be streak free, specifically for optics. Got it at Office Max. I think I need to cut down on this fabric a little more. I might be able to do that. Look how easily this thing pokes through it. Easily at all. So what I want to be careful to do is not scratch it. Let me see if I can't gently push it through with this guy. It's going to be game over if I scratch this lens. vibration of the mirrors by doing this. And crack. Uh-oh. I think I may have cracked the mirror. That is not a good sign. You know, I don't even think dust in here would cause it to have a bad picture, because it's really just making that beam a perfect square. So as long as it does that, which appears it does, I think it's the lens in here that needs to be cleaned. So let's try that approach before I break something. Can't clean that lens. Hopefully that does it. Looks like there's just a teensy little speck of ironically lint from clean rag on there. I'm trying to wipe that off. Oh, that might have done it. Ooh, I like the way that looks. Alright, so I have a more powerful flashlight. I think I'm going to dig out to see if I can test it before I put it back together. So what it looks like is there's these mirrors, which must be plastic, because if I really damage these somehow, which I'm actually not sure that I actually did, I think they would have cracked a lot more severely than what it looks like they may have, but I'm not even entirely sure if they cracked. I wonder if it was just streaking from the cleaning solution that was in there, or the dust off that I had sprayed in there previously. That said, you can look and see, maybe you can see, maybe you can't, that lens there, that had visible dust on it that I could see, and I'm probably going to wipe it again real quick before I reassemble this. But that had quite a bit of dust on it, and that was probably the cause of my dusty image, more than likely. Because even if there's dust on here, like, it's all the light that's in there is bouncing and refracting and different things, and so I doubt that there'd be dust on there that you could really focus on, like you can see in the previous video I did. But if there's dust on that lens, you could definitely focus on it and make it out. So I think that's the cause. So we will reassemble and see if that makes a difference. I am going to try and clean the inside of this if possible, but only if I can thread that cleaning cloth through there and just kind of move it up and down that way instead of trying to jam it in there. Okay, so I've got a much thinner strip here, which I think I can just thread through and then kind of seesaw up and down this mirror. Okay, so I've got it threaded through. Another reason to have some sort of prick prying tools nearby. Alright, so with that, see if I can't gently clean these mirrors off. Oh, that is leaving crazy amounts of lint inside of here. There's more lint in there now than when we started. Alright. See if I can dust some of this stuff off. Well, hard to tell if I made it better or if I made it worse. There's a teensy bit of lint on there, but it looks fairly clean. I'm gonna clean the lens again, since I blew a bunch of stuff onto it. Looks pretty clear. Alright, I'm gonna get a more powerful flashlight and see if I can't get some sort of image projected through here. There you go. Best 40 bucks I ever spent. I don't know, some Redline, Nebo, whatever. This thing puts out a crazy ton, but the best thing is it has a gigantic lens on here that you can focus this down all the way to the point of seeing the LED footprint. So let's see if we can't get that. Get some sort of image out. Alright, so was able to shine the light in there. It does look like there's still dust on that lens. Doesn't look like it's from the mirrors though, because I think I would see a lot more on there if it was the lint that I can see on these little mirrors that create the square image. I don't see anything on there. Alright, so I'm going to try and give this another good swab, and I'm going to try and actually spray some screen cleaner. It says screen cleaner and protector. It's supposed to be optic grade. Try it. It's supposed to be streak free. I don't know. Alright. Give this one more go. Well, doesn't appear that I've done much. One thing significant to note that's changed is if you watched my DLP projector disassembly video, you saw that you could focus on the image and all the specs would go out of focus, and then you could focus on the specs and the image would go out of focus, meaning they were on different planes. So it was on a mirror or some optic, not the DMD chip. However, now there's two different locations where it looks like dust exists. And I'm curious if if one of those locations is the DMD chip. So now, I'm kind of concerned. I might have to disassemble this whole thing. I have a hard time believing there's dust inside there though, because it looks like it's closed, like it's sealed. I don't know how dust would even get in there. Unless it's not as sealed as I'm supposed to think that it is. Alright, against my better judgment, looks like there's a screw there and a screw there. Let's see if I can get those removed. Screw. Didn't seem like it should just come off with 2 screws. So on top of the 3 screws, there's actually foam kind of gluing it in place as well that I'm having to remove or separate in order to make this disassembly happen. There's going to be a god-awful amount of electrical tape all over this thing by the time I reassemble this. Well, I think I found my spots. So there's 3 surfaces there I need to clean ASAP and then get this back together before any dust settles on it. So, take our handy dandy microfiber cloth. Some dust on the mirror up top here. Dust on this guy. So to say that as much as you might be led to believe that this is a sealed case, it is not perfectly sealed. So also, if you want to see what your DMD looks like, it's right in there. And Asus actually did a good thing by putting a piece of glass over it so you can disassemble it like this to clean without worrying about jacking up your really expensive DMD chip. So, good job, Asus. Okay, put this together before dust recontaminates it. Now, let's go see if I got all the dust particles off. There's just a couple of teensy little specks that I still want to get off. Alright, number 2. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have a clean optical assembly. That is extremely exciting. I can't wait to get this put back together and try it out. So, a couple of things. Lessons learned. I know that dust got in there because I used this dust off to try and do a good thing and clean the lens off before I reassembled it after taking the color wheel out. However, in doing that, by spraying all that compressed air, I blew dust into the assembly because it's not completely sealed. And so shooting that high pressure air at this assembly blew a bunch of dust in there. So I created my own problem. So if you're watching this and you're thinking of doing the same type of thing, don't. You're going to make more work for yourself and it's going to be a headache. Would be a good idea if you mess with the optics at all to go ahead and give them a quick clean, because it really wasn't that difficult. But yeah, basically, so there's the front optic here, there's a lens on the back side, and then there's the DMD chip with a piece of glass over it, and then the lens that actually goes out. So all those surfaces need to be perfectly clean. And the lens here, although it's tight, it sits in a groove in there, and so it's kind of sealed. It's actually not perfectly sealed, and because of that, you can blow dust into that optics assembly using dust off. So don't use dust off. I'm going to blow out the rest of this projector before I completely reassemble it. And before this goes back into it, because I really don't want to stir up any air either in reassembling this. So now comes the challenge of getting this back together without any extra pieces. Alrighty. So it's a good thing, right? I intentionally laid everything out the way that I did because it should just be a matter of going backwards the way I laid everything out to reassemble it. So you definitely want to be methodical when you disassemble something like this, especially if it's the first time, because you definitely don't want to put it together the wrong way. Alright, that means the optics are in place where they need to be. Next step, go ahead and put the halogen lamp back in. First things first, take this guy out. Alright, then we'll put the squirrel cage motor back in. We had it like so. And I'll go ahead and prep that wire to go back to its original home. And then our duct with the thermistor. So I don't think my warranty is valid anymore. I'll say that much. You'll notice there's these little blue lines, different places. You can tell that like a lot of like tampering, checking like things to make sure people aren't disassembling this stuff and then claiming a warranty. What's next? I think the main board is going to be next. Nope. One more thing. I gotta put this convoluted piece of sheet metal stamping back in place. Alright, so I think now we're ready to put the main board back on. Now there's two headers that have to be lined up. There's a header here that has to go down here, and there's this massive header that goes down here, and that's to the DMD chip. So let's move some of these wires out of the way. Make sure we got all three of the wires that we need within easy reach. right. So make sure you're very careful with this ribbon cable because it's just very thin wire. It's flat running through there, and so bending it too much will break that wire. You won't be able to see it. All you'll know is that whatever it's running to doesn't work anymore. So you do want to be extra careful with that. Okay, it looks like we're seated. Let's get everything plugged back in. And I guess if you don't like the beeping sound your projector makes, you can unplug it here. Just a little tidbit. Got it. Alright. Our 5-pin connector. And our second 3-pin connector. And this one goes to the PC fan right here. Alright, so now we can screw the board in. We got 4 black screws and a silver screw. Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably the 4 black screws, and the silver screw probably goes right there. But you know, how many screws do I need for this guy? So I'm pretty sure this guy has to go along on with it. Yep. Good thing I did not forget about that. Oh, so little thing to watch out for when you assemble this. Good thing I didn't get further than I did. This guy needs to go around here. I bent it a little bit. Looks like I'm gonna have to pull. Yeah, crap. I gotta pull this off, and then the 3 screws. Yeah, that's a pain. Wish I would have caught that sooner. So let's see if I can just pop this while leaving everything connected. Okay, since I can do that, I think I can just undo this one screw in the corner and lift it up enough to slide that around. above a little bit. There we go. Crisis averted. Casualty there, not a big deal. Make sure everything's seated like it needs to be. Good to go there. Now, we can put this on. Now, in my experience, I probably should have done it even before putting this back on, is test it out before you really call yourself done. So I've got the core, everything in here, so I should be able to just turn this on and see how she runs. Alright, so I just wanted to go ahead and follow this up. So the memory card filled up when I was reassembling this and testing it, so I just wanted to do a little follow-up to make sure that I polished off the video showing that the projector did in fact work. So go ahead and start her up. Alright, so no issues with the startup. Go ahead and I'm going to let it warm up, and then I will show you the projection. Alright, so here you can see that it's projecting quite nicely. I'm going to go ahead and cycle through the focus so that way you can see that there's no spots from any dust. And looks like we are dust free. Go ahead and change the zoom, cycle through again. Again, no dust visible whatsoever. So this disassembly was a complete success, I will say, and I will reiterate again that if you are trying to clean your projector, do not use dust off, because that was most likely the source of getting dust blown into the optics on this projector, because the optics are not sealed airtight, and blowing that high pressure air through your machine will most likely blow dust in through the nooks and crannies of that assembly and get it onto your lenses and onto your mirrors and muddy up your image. So I would avoid that at all costs if possible. So that's that. If you enjoyed watching this and found it helpful, give me a like and leave me a comment, let me know, and then check out my channel and subscribe. Thanks for watching.